Thank you so much. It is so hard to sit here sometimes because I didn't come to Congress to write laws or to do things that are hurting people. I'm just asking if there's any decency or heart or courage on that side of the aisle. The fact that a woman was killed, she was shot in her head, and y'all are pretending like nothing happened. I remember when Charlie Kirk got killed. Do you remember what our response was? Our response wasn't to sit there and pretend like it was okay. Is it okay because you have a badge? Because the last time I checked, allegedly no one is above the law. Can y'all not just have a little bit of courage and humanity? A child. A child has lost her mom. And y'all want to pretend that it is okay. I am asking if there is anyone that will stand for the very people that elected us and sent us to Congress. You tell us things like, well, the immigrants are bad, and so we got to get all these bills because the immigrants are the ones that are causing the harm, they're bringing the crime. The mayor of Minneapolis told y'all to get the fuck out. Yet y'all are the ones, it is this administration that is bringing crime to their streets. That's what's happening.
It's the third incident where somebody has dropped an F-bomb in this committee, including the video.
I'm sorry.
Including the video that we had to watch earlier.
Are your princess ears okay?
Is it profanity?
Well,
your princess ears
the House of Representatives.
The committee. You are about the fact that a woman.
Are you
the House of Representatives.
The gentlelady.
Are we offending your princess ears? Are they that soft?
All members will
maybe some of the kids out there.
Mr. Chairman, it is the gentlelady's
You're killing
time.
them.
Kids.
It is the gentlelady's time. Let's let her have her time.
It is the gentlelady's time. Would you stop the clock for a moment? Okay, and I'll restore that. The chair will remind all members that the person controlling the time is not to be unreasonably interrupted. We would further admonish that whenever possible to express the full meaning of something, it be done so without an expletive that may be offensive to people here in the audience or those who watch this on television. I understand that a quote at times is essential, but I would admonish everyone that it has been the practice of this committee for the many years I've been here to use such things as F-bomb in order to get the message out without actually using the word. Notwithstanding that, the gentlelady will be recognized for this time plus an additional 20 seconds. The gentlelady may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Long story short, we are sitting in judiciary and no one on that side of the aisle seems to care that this particular person, whose name we don't know at this point, became the judge, jury, and executioner. I don't know how you square that. And then we're sitting here literally in markup for a bail funds bill. When I first ran for office, it was in the midst of yet another lynching by law enforcement in Minneapolis. At that time, it was George Floyd. I remember working as a pro bono criminal defense attorney to help protesters that were being arrested. There were more than 600 protesters that were arrested in Dallas. There were churches that came together to make sure that there were bail funds. There were nonprofit organizations. And to explain how it works for bail, since we're in judiciary and we're writing the laws, and some people may not understand this, but those bail funds, those nonprofit organizations are not the ones that determine whether or not somebody gets bail. What they do is they help out poor people, which I know y'all are not interested in either. But they help out people that aren't rich and famous and have limitless amounts of money, like all of the Epstein defendants who somehow y'all can't find, even though y'all went and got Maduro. But it helps out those people to be able to get out of jail. Many of those people that if they spend just a couple of days in jail will then be thrust into straight up poverty because they will lose everything. Why it is that you want to criminalize people such as churches that are trying to help the poor because they understand what the Bible says, and they don't just say that they understand it or say that they love Jesus, but they decide that they actually put it into works because faith without works is dead. That is wrong too. And I'm here to tell you that there's going to be a lot of nonprofit organizations that are going to step up in this moment because there are going to be protests around this entire country because of the state-sanctioned execution that we all saw unfold, unless there is some kind of justice that takes place and we get the name of that officer and that officer is prosecuted. So I ask that law enforcement, we have oversight over them. I am the oversight ranker. Let's go ahead. In fact, I make a motion that we have a hearing in the oversight subcommittee as it relates to this particular.
All right, y'all, let's talk about what you just watched, because this wasn't a spicy moment in a committee room. This was a morality test, live on camera. And the people who failed it didn't fail because they disagreed on policy. They failed because they revealed what they actually prioritize. Jasmine Crockett opens with something a lot of folks in Washington never say out loud. I didn't come to Congress to hurt people. And you can hear the exhaustion in it because she's sitting in the Judiciary Committee, the place that's supposed to care about justice, and she's looking across the aisle at people treating a woman's death like background noise. She's not asking for a rhetorical thoughts and prayers. She's asking for a basic human reaction. A woman was shot in the head, a child lost their mother, and y'all are acting like nothing happened. Now watch the pivot point because it tells you everything. The minute she references the mayor of Minneapolis telling them to get the bleep out, the outrage machine doesn't fire up over the killing. It fires up over the word. Third incident, somebody dropped an F-bomb. And that right there is the whole story. The committee is more offended by a syllable than by what Crockett is describing as a judge, jury, and executioner moment. And Crockett, whether you like her style or not, does what a lot of politicians refuse to do. She refuses to let tone policing become a shield for impunity. That's why she snaps back with the princess ears line. People will clip that and argue about decorum for a week, and that's exactly her point. They want the conversation to be about manners, so nobody has to talk about accountability. Then she drags it back to what's happening in the room. They're in markup for a bail funds bill, meaning while she's talking about a killing and a child who lost their mom, the committee is pushing legislation that, according to her framing, targets the very networks that keep poor people from being destroyed by pretrial detention. She explains it in plain language. Bail funds don't set bail. They don't decide who's eligible. They help people who can't afford to get out. People who, if they sit in jail even a few days, lose their job, lose their housing, lose everything and slide straight into poverty. That's not soft on crime. That's reality in America for anyone without money. And here's where she makes it bigger than one bill. She connects it to churches and nonprofits. She basically says, you're going to criminalize churches for helping poor people while you sit around acting helpless when it comes to rich and powerful defendants. That's not subtle. That's her calling out the two-tier system. Mercy is a crime when it's for the poor, but accountability is complicated when it's for the connected. And if you caught it, she's doing something very strategic. She speaks in their language. She talks about faith. Faith without works is dead. That's not just a Bible verse, it's a challenge. She's saying, don't preach Jesus while you punish the people doing the work Jesus actually talked about. Again, whether you agree or not, that's a direct hit at the political brand of performative morality. But the most important part of this clip isn't the argument. It's the move she makes at the end. She doesn't just vent, she turns it into a demand. Name the officer, prosecute the officer, and hold a hearing. And she reminds them she's the oversight ranker, meaning she's not just yelling, she's asserting jurisdiction. She's saying, if you're not going to treat this like justice, I'm going to force it into the oversight process where facts and accountability are supposed to live. So if you're wondering why this moment hit so hard, it's because it exposes the real hierarchy in American politics. A mother gets killed, let's move on. A child loses their mom, not our problem. Somebody says a bad word on TV, emergency meeting. And that's why this isn't just a viral clip. It's a snapshot of the entire national argument. Who gets protected, who gets punished, and what kind of law and order we're actually talking about. And that's the moment right there, because what you just watched wasn't politics. It was a mirror. A woman is dead, a child is without a mother. And instead of racing toward accountability, you watch people race toward decorum complaints like that's the emergency. Jasmine Crockett didn't just call out the hypocrisy, she put a spotlight on what this system protects, who it punishes, and how quickly power tries to change the subject when the truth gets uncomfortable. So here's the question we're leaving with. Are we going to keep letting outrage be reserved for language while violence and impunity get a pass? Or are we going to demand names, hearings, consequences, and real justice in the open? If you want oversight that actually means something, if you're tired of watching humanity get filibustered by tone, then stay locked in, because this story isn't over. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you want accountability louder than excuses, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.